Hyper Scape, in my opinion, is a great game. For me, it's genuinely exciting, offers an experience I don't really get elsewhere, despite its initially very generic-looking aesthetic, and I think it deserves to do well, if it has some fairly sizable flaws ironed out. And yet, what I keep hearing about this game is that it's struggling. In fact, a little over a week ago, I produced my own video about the topic and how much it disappointed me that the game wasn't really succeeding the way I hoped it would. But now, is that really the case? Are things changing? How much hope is there that this game can flourish? Well, we're going to be more analytical and dive a bit deeper than those just saying, oh, the game isn't doing well. So with fresh numbers, analysis, and considerations, let's dive into all of that. Is Hyper Scape a flop or a slow-burning secret success?
Sectors are about to collapse.
This video is brought to you by the epic people who support the channel on Patreon via the Board of Awesome. Also, the current goal for the channel is to hit 60k subscribers, currently sitting at 51.7k. So, if you're new or want to see more, hitting that subscribe button would be massively appreciated. Thank you so much. Now, last time out talking about this subject, some people misunderstood or simply didn't listen and expressed that I simply didn't like the game, that I was bad at the game or whatever else, which was weird. But regardless, a consistent message in my comment sections, in comment sections of other videos on Twitter and wherever else is, I didn't even know this game existed, I got my first advert for this game today, and all sorts of stuff like that. Clearly, Ubisoft have so far not pushed this Battle Royale via advertising in anything like the way that many of us expected them to. The reasons for that could be wide-ranging, overconfidence, perhaps just mistakes, maybe they're waiting for the game to hit what they perceive as being a better state, lots of things really are possible. But it is genuinely confusing, as it's not at all uncommon for games that don't perform as expected early on to just get left behind and forgotten by the gaming community, especially in a highly competitive market such as the free-to-play Battle Royale scene. At least though, as I stated in the previous video, Ubisoft Montreal and Ubisoft as a whole have somewhat created a reputation for supporting games long-term, turning them around, and creating success stories out of potential flops. But is Hyper Scape a flop? At least so far. Well, let's look at some updated numbers. We'll look at the GameStat.com PlayStation directory. It shows that Hyper Scape currently sits in 5th for new players in a recent Thursday period on PlayStation, although it is fresh and new and free to play, while being basically surrounded by pay-to-play titles, and it must be pointed out that Fall Guys got nearly 5 times as many new players on the platform in that period. But regardless, it's not always about beating the top dog. Let's look deeper. So 3.3 million new players in that recent Thursday period, with fairly steady growth according to the chart, nothing drastic or overly encouraging, but at least it's a solid number to begin with. Honestly, in this climate, for a free-to-play Battle Royale from a major studio, I'd be hoping to see a bit steeper growth. It makes me worried, but perhaps Ubisoft are just approaching this launch differently, only they know, but there is more to analyse. First though, let me say that I waited and waited for this to update beyond August 16th, because it's currently August 25th for me, and I wanted the most up-to-date information, but it's just not been updated. And I have noticed that Hyper Scape does seem to have received some more advertising in the past week or so, which it desperately needs and could go a long way towards assisting the game in reaching those higher heights. So when these charts are updated, if anything significant has happened, I'll consider producing a follow-up video. But anyway, for now, on PlayStation specifically, Hyper Scape picked up around 500,000 players on launch day, following on from the PC beta, so there was more awareness for Hyper Scape than a game that was dropped as a surprise, but still apparently not much based upon what we've seen since. Now, interestingly, Apex Legends actually had a similar, actually slightly slower first few days when it was dropped as a surprise, at least in terms of player numbers on PlayStation, and is now one of the big boys of the genre. But that similarity didn't last long. So for Hyper Scape, according to these charts, it grew to around 3.3 million players in a little under a week. Apex Legends hit more than double in that time, 7.5 million. And on top of that, you could not escape Apex Legends at the time. The ads were all over the place. It was huge on Twitch because of massive sponsorship deals for streamers. There was loads of YouTube content being made. It was seemingly a very different launch strategy. They just went, boom, this is our game, it's out right now, and here are loads of content creators playing it, and it worked. Now, the total opposite of a surprise game like Apex is a game that already has a massive history behind it. So here's the chart for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. This sudden huge rise in player numbers here here is at the release of their battle royale, Warzone. So whichever way you slice it, Hyper Scape isn't really competing at the minute with those numbers. Whether Ubisoft are aiming for that is again up for debate though. Let me also drop in that on Xbox, GameStat estimates that there were 1.4 million new players for Hyper Scape in that period on that platform, so some way lower, but still performing well in terms of competing for new players with other games, sitting in second place in the directory. It's up to you if you think that's a good sign. I personally overall don't really, but I hope that recent advertising has boosted that number up by a significant amount. Now we can't get hold of the PC numbers, at least as far as I'm aware, as Hyper Scape is on the Ubisoft store. Let me know if you can find something that helps. And with quite a few complaints coming through about the console experience, it may well be that the PC numbers are competing with them or bettering them, maybe to a significant degree. And also tell me in the comments if you play on PC, are your lobby waiting times long? Because mine on Xbox definitely are, which usually indicates low player numbers. But yeah, even if it's doing better on PC, the basic trend is almost always the same regardless of the game and platform. There's nothing to make us believe it's a dominant force on PC, whilst not being so on console really. Something to back this up is the Twitch viewership. At the time of checking for this video, Hyper Scape has just 2,000 odd people watching it, meaning it's sitting below a load of games that you just honestly wouldn't expect it to be for a free-to-play battle royale from a huge development studio. And Hype Track shows that it isn't just me checking at a bad time. Viewership for Hyper Scape on Twitch is on the decline, and the numbers are sitting at fairly unhealthy levels when compared with the competition, which means that the recent advertising may not be having the drastic effect that I'm hoping for. Now, some say that Twitch viewership or video viewership doesn't equal playing popularity, and that's strictly true, but there's no doubt it's a decent indicator for a game like this a lot of the time, and Twitch is a massively influential and powerful asset when it comes to a game's success these days. Throw on top of that for most games of this nature from AAA studios, the YouTube scene is usually made up of creators that have chosen to focus upon the game, and then also massive creators who choose to ride the wave for a while. Unfortunately, Hyper Scape doesn't seem to have the second part of that statement. Most of the massive creators seem to have done their sponsored content or have dipped their toes in the water for a video or two and have moved on. This isn't a good sign. The game could use a lot more hype and interest coming its way. Now we can see via Google Trends that the game has been searched for more via the correct and incorrect spelling of the name since my last time talking about this, but it also shows it's on the way back down again now, and on the way back down without Hyper Scape having really reached the next level of public consciousness or popularity. So are things as bad as I feared before? Well, no, perhaps not quite. There's a little bit of hope, especially as it's Ubisoft handling the game, having turned around Rainbow Six Siege and such like. But are things looking good? Well, no, not right now at least. I sure hope the recent advertising has helped and continues to, but I have my doubts. So what's the solution? Well, absolutely advertising the hell out of the game. More interest begets more interest. Higher player numbers, more people joining, more friends playing with each other, more interest from creators, which brings in even more players. The game needs hype, and it needs Ubisoft overall to really back the game. And maybe they will, just more so later down the line. We'll see, but for now, I'll remain concerned. Let it also be said that console needs more aim adjustment settings, such as response curve, acceleration, etc., and the crown mechanic has to be an optional mode, not the main one. And so please let me know where you stand on this entire issue as well. And that is my coverage of Hyper Scape being a flop or not as of right now, and I hope you enjoyed the video or found it interesting. If you did, leaving a like is very helpful, thank you very much. If you're new here or want to see more, subscribe and help me reach my 60k target, and all the links to my social media including Patreon, Discord, my Twitter, all of that can be found in the description and my pinned comment. And with all that said, I'm GetGoodGuy and I'll see you next time, laters. So that also leads to some players saying the game is super sweaty and try-hard, with only talented FPS players able to succeed, and this is despite some mechanics that I think are fairly casual friendly. This would all seem like enough problems already, but in the interest of fully covering the story, I'll tell you that there's more.